world is busy debating heated issues that only pertain to certain audiences or groups of people. For example, homosexual marriage, abortion, or even things like cage fighting, which really don't pertain to the average person. Yet there's a current topic that has risen to awareness because of its obvious relevance to all people, and that's really the question, what food should we eat? Food is of necessity to live well, or really even to live at all. So the question of whether or not we should be buying or eating conventionally farmed foods, or if we should be buying organic foods, has come to the minds of many different people. After research, I discovered that the benefits of eating organic food relating to health, protecting our resources, or just even for the enjoyment of food, provide more than enough evidence to say that people should begin purchasing and consuming organic grown food, really for the future of the world and themselves. But before explaining the positives of eating organic foods, first I must explain kind of the problematic situation that most people are ignorant of. There are many ways to farm food, but most break down into categories of organic or conventional farming. With conventional farming, it's large-scale farms, so you're mass-producing a huge amount of food with really the principle of cost efficiency in mind. You're trying to produce as much as you can, as cheaply as you can. But on the opposite spectrum, organic farming is kind of described as locally adapted farming that relies on the principles of health and also ecology as what drives them for farming. Many people decide that there's no essential difference between the two types of farming, but from the research I've gathered, it seems that there is quite a large difference. Human health and our environment seem to be dissolving with every passing year. So it seems that the issue of what food we should be eating is one that's really worth considering. The first benefit that really stands out is health, of course. And one of the big aspects of health that there's a huge difference in between the two types of farming is use of chemicals versus pesticides. Pesticides approved for use by the EPA were registered long before extensive research linking them to chemicals that cause cancer and other diseases had ever been established. So now the EPA, with more research and study, considers 60% of all herbicides, 90% of all fungicides, and also 30% of all insecticides are carcinogenic, meaning all these different chemicals that they're using on conventional farming actually cause cancer. The National Academy of Sciences reported in 1987 that there's estimates that pesticides may cause an extra 4 million cancer cases among Americans. This was in 1987, and research has kind of grown more towards that being a greater issue. Organic food doesn't contain food additives, flavor enhancers like MSG, or artificial sweeteners like aspartame and high fructose corn syrup, contaminants or even preservatives, and these are all things that when you look on the label you're trying not to find in order to have a good healthy meal. But the one thing that really you have to take into consideration for those that don't think much about their own health and they say, I can choose what I want, because that's a very American attitude, is I can choose what I want to do regardless of how it hurts me, is future generations' health. The average child receives 4 times more exposure than an adult to at least 8 widely used cancer-causing pesticides in food. It is common that we say individuals can do what they want, but society tends to have a problem with hurting others, especially children, with what choices we make. For instance, there's been the big secondhand smoking movement. You can't smoke cigarettes around people, especially children, because of the damage it does. So how much more should we not be consuming food that's going to hurt our children as well? And not only that, but not just chemicals, but organic food's more nutritious. On average, organic food is 25% more nutritious in terms of vitamins and minerals that products derived from industrial agriculture. For example, the levels of antioxidants in milk from organic cattle are between 50% and 80% higher than normal milk. So that's just one example. It goes the same for your produce, vegetables, everything else, fruit. But the second big benefit of organic farming is the protecting of our resources. And this isn't a connection that you make easy. You need to have a lot of research for it. One big issue is the erosion of soil. The American Soil Conservation Service estimates more than 3 billion tons of topsoil are eroded from U.S. crops every year. That means that the soil erodes 7 times faster than it's built up naturally. That's a big problem because if you're destroying all your soil so much quicker than it's actually naturally building up, then we're not going to have much soil left to be farming with in the first place. It's really not good. Soil is kind of the foundation of organic farming, and with the way that we're doing conventional farming, we're destroying everything so that the chemical fertilizers aren't allowing us to have good soil anymore. Also, an important aspect of preserving our resources is the water supply. Water makes up 2/3 of our body mass, and it covers 3/4 of the planet, so it's a pretty important thing. And the EPA estimates that pesticides, some cancer-causing ones, can contaminate groundwater, polluting the primary sources of drinking water. And that's not only our drinking water, but that's what we, again, water our plants with. Also, saving energy. An interesting fact is that large-scale factory farms for conventional farming use more petrol than any other single industry in the world. So we're actually using more fuel to run these kind of farms than any other industry. And more energy is actually used to produce synthetic fertilizers to till and do plants than actually all of organic farming in itself uses. Organic farming focuses on hand-done work, mostly real soils, tilling the soil by hand, which isn't as time efficient and cost efficient, but at the same time you're saving all kinds of energy in the process. The very last resource that we want to protect is farmers, because they are probably our greatest resource for actually doing farming. The National Cancer Institute study found that farmers exposed to herbicides had 6 times more risk than non-farmers of contracting cancer. In just California alone, there's reported pesticide poisonings among farm workers that have risen an average of 14% a year since the 1970s. And they actually doubled between 1975 and 1985. Field workers suffer the highest rate of occupational illness in the state. Farm workers' health is also a serious problem in developing nation whose pesticide is usually poorly regulated. It's actually estimated that there's 1 million people who are poisoned annually by pesticides. So I thank God I work at an organic farm instead of a conventional farm, because it may save me from cancer. It's actually damaging the people who are doing it. So imagine when we're eating it, it's also got to be doing some of the same work in our own body. But the third and last benefit that I put last because I feel it should really appeal to everybody is eating organic food is so much more enjoyable than eating conventionally farmed food. Unlike the conventional farmers, organic farmers actually allow their food to mature before they pick it. So what you're eating is ripe. It not only has the best vitamins, but it really tastes how it's supposed to taste. Most conventional farmers pick everything, their harvest, long before it's ever ripe, so they can freeze it, package it, and send it out to places. And it doesn't taste the same. And if you really want proof of this, you don't have to look at research. You can go to your local organic farmer's market and go pick a bunch of different lettuce, whatever kind of food you want to taste it, and you will see there's a very valid difference between the two. So pretty much just to sum it up, there's 3 main big reasons why you should go buy organic food instead of conventionally eating that. Is, of course, the health, the issues that you have in health in conventional farming, what conventional farming does to our environment, our ecosystem, even our people, is not a good thing, and we need to change that. And also, it tastes so much better. So go out and get organic food instead of conventional.